Rightly, you have great concerns about the UK government's increases in air passenger duty, which reach a new peak at the start of next month. APD on long-haul routes has tripled, or for some destinations quadrupled, in 4 years. The latest rises range between 50 and 112% compared to APD levels from last summer. And because of the unfair distance banding on which the tax is based, Caribbean destinations suffer disproportionately. A family of 4 flying economy class to Hawaii from London, involving a distance of more than 7,200 miles, 11,500 kilometres, would incur an APD charge of £240. Yet the same family travelling to Nassau in the Bahamas, which is not more than half as far, pays £300 and double if they sit in premium economy. The tax from the UK to the Caribbean is so disproportionate that the APD revenue taken on a typical flight is nearly 10 times the actual carbon cost of that flight. Our flight from London to Barbados yesterday, the total CO2 generated by that flight, the total cost of offsetting that CO2 was met by just 20 of our customers sitting in our World Traveller Plus, our premium economy cabin. 20 of the people travelling on that flight paid sufficient tax to offset the total CO2 produced by that whole flight. The other 200 passengers were paying for an environmental cost that did not exist. This tax is a disgrace. I don't need to tell this audience that such swinging levels and levies are having a significant effect. Since last November, when APD to the Caribbean went up from £120 for a family of 4 to £200 for a family of 4, arrivals from Britain have fallen by 12% and by as much as 25% on some islands. Now, clearly, some of this sudden drop could be attributed to economic recession, but it seems clear that APD has played a major part because the majority of Caribbean countries have seen larger decreases from the UK than from anywhere else in Europe. And even if families find the extra money to pay the tax, they will have less money to spend when they arrive here. So they may stay for shorter periods, eat out fewer times in restaurants, take fewer excursions, and spend less on local goods and services. So this tax not only massively overstates the carbon impact of flights to the Caribbean, but threatens the very fabric of the tourism sector on which so much of the island's economies depend. It threatens jobs and opportunities and the ability of the island's governments to maintain funding levels for education, health and welfare programs they expect to provide for their citizens. Many other island economies in the developing world find themselves penalised in the same way. And it's not just about APD. As you heard earlier, the UK government this year expects revenue from this aviation tax to total about £2.3 billion, about 3.7 billion US dollars. In 5 years' time, it expects receipts to be 65% higher at £3.8 billion, just over 6 billion US dollars. Now, I do not think passenger volumes will grow by 65% in 5 years. So further increases in tax rates must be on the horizon. There remains the possibility that the government will switch from air passenger duty to a per plane tax, which in many ways would have an even more damaging effect, both economically and environmentally. The juggernaut of aviation levies does not stop there. In less than 15 months, all EU airlines are due to become subject to EU emissions trading scheme. This will impose a heavy additional cost on all airlines. Estimates put this total cost at more than £1 billion, £1.5 billion US dollars a year. and likely to rise by £100 million a year after that. And the UN's Climate Change Committee recently suggested that the global airline industry should pay an annual tax of $20 billion as its contribution to the $100 billion a year fund proposed at the Copenhagen summit to assist carbon reduction around the world. Now, enough is enough. This blinkered policy will have three deeply damaging consequences. First, it will price millions of people out of flying, especially long-haul flying to regions such as this. Second, the tourism sector of these islands and many other island economies in the developing world will be dealt a heavy blow. Now, I'm not sure how much the policymakers have considered the impact on developing nations in terms of jobs and their ability to provide social infrastructure, let alone their ability to invest themselves in green technologies. And thirdly, some airlines will go out of business. Aviation is a low-margin industry at the best of times. If surpluses are swallowed up in taxes, airlines will not be able to invest in cleaner, emissions-reducing aircraft. They will ultimately go out of business, and the social and economic benefits they bring will disappear with them. In conclusion, let me reiterate how proud we are at British Airways of our long-established and deep-rooted links with the Caribbean. We are also proud of our expansion in this region in the last 5 years. This is a wonderful part of the world to fly to, and we know we are always guaranteed the friendliest of welcomes. Aviation is a social good, and it is making clear progress towards controlling and reducing its carbon emissions. It is absolutely committed to shouldering its fair share of the cost of combating climate change. But the policymakers are looking the other way. They seem to have lost sight of the enormous social and economic benefits of aviation and want to tax, tax, and tax again to stop hard-working families from flying. Let me be clear, British Airways would like to grow further in this region, and we are determined to do so. But that growth goal is at risk from the excessive levels of taxation we face. This obsession with taxing flying, if it continues, will inflict considerable harm on airlines and their ability to do good for society, and untold damage to the economic livelihood of developing countries in the Caribbean and elsewhere. We have a strong case, and we will continue to argue it in every forum available to us. And we will not let the issue drop. We will fight it together, and we will fight it stronger than before. And we will look forward to the day when we can move ahead once more with further expansion for the benefit of all of the people throughout this region.